Maria closed her eyes and felt the warm sunlight of Rio de Janeiro kiss her face. At 23 years old, she had spent most of her life weaving dreams of fluent English conversations as vibrant as the carnival parades that painted her city in rainbow hues. Yet every time she opened her mouth to speak, her words stumbled and tumbled like timid dancers afraid of the spotlight. She longed for more than memorized phrases. She wanted a voice that carried confidence, a voice that belonged not just to her heart, but to the global stage. It was on a quiet afternoon, halfway through a crowded cafe, that she first discovered the English Avenue podcast, a place where motivation met practical guidance and the ordinary turned extraordinary. The moment she pressed play on that first episode, she was transported to a world of possibility. The host, Sam, whose voice resonated like a friendly mentor, had invited listeners into a narrative rather than a lesson. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a grand avenue, he began. Every building lining that street represents an opportunity, a career breakthrough, a chance encounter, a moment of self-discovery. His words painted a cinematic panorama in Maria's mind, and for the first time, English felt alive, a living avenue stretching toward her future. She made a promise under that cafe's dim lights. She would walk every step of that avenue, no matter how shaky her first strides might be. In the days that followed, Maria's routine shifted. She carved out 20 minutes each morning to listen as she prepared her chamomile tea. She marveled at how, with each episode, Sam didn't just teach vocabulary or grammar. He wove stories of real people facing real fears. One vivid tale featured a businessman from Vietnam who overcame his fear of public speaking by reciting daily affirmations in English every morning while looking into his own reflection. Another recounted the journey of a 28-year-old student from Egypt who recorded her own voice reading short journal entries until she grew comfortable with her accent. Each narrative felt like a mirror reflecting Maria's own insecurities, but also like a beacon illuminating the path forward. Energized, she set personal goals. She started keeping a journal in English, not just to document her progress, but to invite vulnerability. She wrote about her memories of Samba lessons, her dreams of working in an international NGO, and her fears of being misunderstood. At first, her sentences were stilted. "I love dance," she wrote one day. But a week later, she surprised herself with "the rhythm of Samba flows through my veins, and I yearn to share this passion with the world." She could almost hear Sam's encouraging tone saying, "That's it, Maria, feel the English pulse in your heart." One afternoon, a challenge was issued in episode 12 of the podcast to record and send a 3-minute voice message describing a favorite childhood memory in English. Maria's heart raced. Her hands trembled as she tapped the record button on her phone. But remembering Sam's mantra, "Action conquers fear," she began. She described the salty breeze of Ipanema Beach at dusk, the laughter of children chasing waves, and how she, at age 8, learned to ride her first bicycle on the boardwalk. When she finished, she replayed her recording and cringed at her accent and awkward pauses. Yet beneath the imperfections, she heard progress. Her words were woven with feeling, her story vivid and personal. She sent the file to the podcast's community group. Feedback poured in within hours. Listeners from Japan, Nigeria, Spain, and Turkey celebrated her vivid imagery and brave step. One comment read, Your voice carries us to Brazil's shores. Keep going, Maria. Another said, your courage inspires me to push past my own fears. For the first time, English was the bridge connecting her to a global family. Maria felt a surge of belonging that transcended grammar rules and vocabulary lists. It was language in its purest form, a shared heartbeat. Over the next fortnight, Maria tackled every challenge Sam presented. She practiced the power phrase of the week, a short, memorable sentence designed to build fluency and confidence. One week it was, I am the author of my own success story, and another it became, every word I speak shapes my future. Each phrase was not only repetition, but a declaration of self-belief. She posted videos of herself saying these phrases on her Instagram story, inviting friends and strangers alike to join her journey. Comments exploded with encouragement, fire emojis, applause gifs, heart stickers. She had never felt so seen. Then came the episode titled, Your Story, Your Script. Sam described it as the heart of the English Avenue podcast, a powerful and motivational script designed to transform listeners from passive learners into active creators of their own narratives. Maria listened, breath held, as the introduction unfolded. Welcome to the cornerstone of your transformation. Today, we offer you more than tips. We hand you the ink and the pages. This script is your invitation to pen the next chapter of your life in English. Read it aloud each day, reflect on its words, and let them awaken the confidence that lives within you. The script itself was a tapestry of affirmations and action steps. I stand tall, with words flowing freely, because I deserve to be heard. With each conversation, I grow braver. With each sentence, I find my voice. Challenges are plot twists, not dead ends. I learn, adapt, and continue. I embrace mistakes as stepping stones because they guide me toward mastery. My journey on English Avenue is not measured in perfection, but in progress. I commit to daily action, speaking, listening, writing until fluency becomes my new normal. As the episode played, Sam's voice swelled with passion. These words are your script, he said. Not just to be heard by your ears, but to be felt in your bones. Speak them to yourself in the mirror, write them in your journal, record them in your voice app, and share them with your community. This is your moment. Maria reached for her notebook and copied the script in bold letters across 2 pages. She placed it on her desk, framing it with post-it notes of doodles and small flags of the countries represented in the podcast's community. Every morning, she recited the lines into her mirror, her reflection smiling back as confidence bloomed in her chest. Her breakthrough came one evening at a small gathering of international volunteers at a community center near Copacabana. The organizer asked for critiques of a fundraising pitch in English. Maria's breath caught in her throat. She thought back to the script, especially line 3, challenges are plot twists. Summoning every ounce of courage and every word she had practiced, she stepped forward. Her voice was steady, her accent musical, her message heartfelt. Good evening, everyone. My name is Maria Oliveira, and I believe that through understanding and empathy, we can create change that resonates beyond borders. I invite you to join our mission to bring clean water to remote villages in northeast Brazil. Your support is not just a donation, it is the promise of hope. As she spoke, Maria felt the pulse of the English Avenue script beneath her words. When she finished, the room erupted in applause. Tears welled in her eyes, not from fear, but from the exhilaration of having truly communicated her passion in a language once foreign to her. She had walked the avenue and arrived at her own stage. News of her success rippled through the podcast's online circle. Sam featured her story in the next episode, his voice filled with genuine pride. Maria's journey from hesitation to empowerment is the very essence of English Avenue. Remember, every story starts with a single word, and every journey with a single step. Maria listened with a racing heart, her dreams suddenly concrete rather than just shimmering possibilities. She realized that the powerful and motivational script she had been given was more than a set of sentences. It was a mindset, a toolkit, and a community pledge. It reminded her daily that language is not a barrier but a bridge, not a test but an invitation. As she reflected on her path from that nervous cafe moment to her triumphant presentation, she understood the magic of storytelling. It transcends vocabulary and grammar, reaching instead for the universal chords of human experience. Today, Maria continues to walk the English Avenue. She records episodes for her own micro-podcast where she interviews fellow learners from Poland, Kenya, and Thailand, weaving their stories into a tapestry of ambition and resilience. She hosts online meetups, guiding new members through the script, watching as their faces light up the first time they speak confidently. And she never forgets to share the core affirmations that changed her life. I stand tall, with words flowing freely. With each conversation, I grow braver. Challenges are plot twists, not dead ends. I embrace mistakes as stepping stones. My journey on English Avenue is measured in progress. As listeners press play on this very episode, they will find not just content, but an invitation, a call to step onto that avenue, to script their own stories, and to speak their dreams into existence. And when they do, they join Maria and thousands of others who discovered that the greatest journey begins with a single word. Every success, however small, brought new horizons for Maria. One crisp morning in August, she received an email that made her heart flutter like the wings of a hummingbird. The Global Youth Forum in Lisbon invited her to speak on a panel about cross-cultural communication. At 23, Maria felt awe and excitement mingled with nerves. She knew the stakes were higher: a live audience, simultaneous interpretation booths, international dignitaries. Yet, she also felt the steady pulse of the English Avenue script in her veins. In preparation, Maria created a detailed plan. She outlined her key messages, incorporating data about language barriers and their impact on humanitarian work. She rehearsed in front of her webcam, noting where her emphasis wavered or her phrasing felt awkward. Each day, she returned to her affirmations, I stand tall, with words flowing freely. By reciting that line, she reminded herself that confidence begins with mindset. She also immersed herself in English language news sources, listening to live broadcasts from the BBC, reading opinion articles in The Guardian, and watching TED Talks by global changemakers. This immersion sharpened her listening skills and exposed her to diverse accents and idioms. When the day of her flight arrived, Maria felt a familiar flutter of anxiety. But as she boarded the plane, she whispered to herself, challenges are plot twists, not dead ends. This simple yet powerful reframing eased her tension, transforming apprehension into anticipation. She envisioned the avenue unfolding before her, a cobblestone path leading from Brazil to Portugal, paved by every sentence she had spoken, every script line she had owned. Lisbon greeted her with golden sunlight dancing on tile rooftops and the distant strum of fado guitars. At the conference center, Maria met fellow panelists, a refugee advocate from Jordan, a tech entrepreneur from Canada, and a linguistics professor from Japan. Conversations began with polite smiles and tentative English, but soon deepened as they shared personal stories of why language mattered in their work. Maria realized that each person, regardless of background, approached English not just as a tool for communication, but as a vessel for their dreams. When her turn came, Maria stepped onto the stage, eyes scanning the audience of nearly 500. A calm settled over her, not the absence of nerves, but a companionable hum that reminded her she belonged here. She spoke about her journey from timid Portuguese speaker to confident English communicator, weaving in anecdotes of the podcast challenges and community feedback that had fueled her growth. Language is more than grammar and vocabulary, she said, voice clear and steady. It is empathy in action. When I learned to tell my story in English, I unlocked doors to other hearts. She paused, letting the words resonate. The interpreter beside her nodded appreciatively. She could see the message crossing the language divide in real time. She concluded with a call to action. Whether you are a student, a professional, or someone who simply loves to learn, I invite you to step onto your own English avenue. Find the stories that move you, share your voice with courage, and remember, every sentence you speak shapes your future. The applause was thunderous. As she left the stage, fellow speakers embraced her, praising her poise and authenticity. Maria felt that same exhilarating glow she had felt after her first Cafe Promise, magnified 100-fold. The avenue stretched farther now, leading to new possibilities. Back in Rio, Maria's life changed again. Offers arrived to guest host episodes of the English Avenue podcast, sharing insights on public speaking and intercultural dialogue. She accepted eagerly, delighted to give back to the community that had fostered her growth. In each episode, she invited a new guest, sometimes a fellow learner, sometimes an expert, creating a mosaic of perspectives that enriched listeners worldwide. Her own micro-podcast blossomed, too. Interviewing learners from diverse cultures, she uncovered universal themes of aspiration, resilience, and the poignancy of small victories. She heard from a software engineer in Poland who delivered a TEDx talk in English about mental health, and from a Kenyan artist who sold her first painting at an international fair after pitching her work in English. Each guest's story echoed the script's message: I embrace mistakes as stepping stones. Meanwhile, Maria continued to grow personally. She enrolled in an online master's program in international relations, confident she could navigate course materials and engage in English medium seminars. She forged friendships with classmates from every continent, meeting them on Zoom to study, debate current events, and practice language in real contexts. These connections were more than academic. They were bonds of solidarity formed through shared struggle and mutual encouragement. On weekends, she led an English club at the community center where she once hesitated to speak. New learners arrived with the same shy smiles she once wore. Maria welcomed them warmly, remembering how a single kind comment from a podcast listener had shifted her self-image. She guided them through icebreakers, vocabulary games, and short storytelling exercises, always reminding them of the motivational script. My journey on English Avenue is measured in progress. Year by year, Maria's milestones accumulated like pebbles lining her avenue. She published articles in English language journals, sharing research on language acquisition in multicultural settings. She volunteered as a translator for a nonprofit, helping migrants access vital resources. She even traveled to Tokyo to co-facilitate a workshop on English for social impact, where she spoke as both learner and mentor. Yet she never lost sight of her beginnings. Every so often, she revisited that quiet cafe in Rio, sitting under the same rickety fan that churned warm air above her head. She pressed play on the first English Avenue episode, letting Sam's voice wash over her with the same hope and curiosity that had first ignited her journey. And each time, she felt gratitude for the guidance, the community, and the script that had shown her the way. As her story continued to unfold, Maria understood that the avenue was more than a metaphor. It was a living testament to every learner's potential. It reminded her that fluency is not a destination but a journey, the daily choices to speak, to listen, to share. It taught her that confidence is not absence of fear, but the willingness to move forward despite it. It revealed that language, at its core, is an act of courage and connection. And so, as listeners around the world tune in to the English Avenue podcast, they find more than lessons, they find an invitation. An invitation to step off the sidelines of uncertainty and onto the vibrant street of possibility. An invitation to script their own narratives, to claim their own voices, and to join Maria, once a timid 23-year-old in Brazil, now a beacon of inspiration on a global stage, in the beautiful, unending journey of English Avenue.